What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you're listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, this is the best time of the year. Football season is in full swing.
Yes, and it's just getting warmed up. The happiness for your team and my team, both the teams. Not only did they win, but they won convincingly. There was never a shadow of a doubt that maybe they would lose that game. So praise on.
Yeah,
Tom had a win with his Broncos.
yeah. I don't know if Tom, I think Tom's still in the Red Sea, but I think he's the Broncos are his B team because he's right there.
Yeah,
He and
I
I,
think you
he
have to.
I approached him about having a friendly side rivalry with the Broncos and Raiders, being as I'm so close to Vegas, and he's so close to. Well, he's right down the way from Denver, the Mile High Stadium. So I think it would be a fun back and forth. And if what I've read about getting Raiders tickets on the secondary market with vaccination status is needed to get in the stadium, I think they're a lot cheaper to get tickets and easier to get tickets than most people thought they would be.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that
something to
would be
think
kind
about.
of fun between you can have a little rivalry with those two
Hmm.
games against each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
It was a fun weekend though, just because I love sports. College football is very underrated. There's a lot of fun in watching college football. Um, Arizona State's 2-0, so I'm always happy to see that. U of A is 0-2. I'm always thrilled to see that. Uh, it's a fun time of year. The weather's starting to change a little bit. It's going from 110 to 105, so you can feel that coolness in the air, and it's a nice break from summer.
Yeah, well, and it's also just a nice time after a long hiatus of the main sport that I watch. It's kind of nice to get back into it. Obviously, there was kind of a change for me this year. I don't know if you partook, but Arizona sports betting started last week
Last Thursday,
and
yeah.
or last Thursday, and I actually made a couple wagers
Oh,
on
did
an
you then?
app. Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. I am taking advantage of the free money and will match your money situations on some of those apps, just to play around, just to see if I can figure it out. And sports betting is an art. I'm finding out.
Well, I think that one of the couple key things that I learned over this weekend is I also took advantage of the free money. In fact, I didn't even place a bet with my own money. I all used all of the freebies that they gave us. And a couple of the bets I decided, hey, they give you a certain amount of money. So I went like vote for 7 teams, you get like $5,000.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of those. I did a couple where I did 4 teams that would have got me. It would have gotten me $1,200, and then a couple $10 bets that would have got me like $100, and one that got me 26 bucks. And that was the only one I won. So I learned a couple things. One, the more teams you pick, yeah, I can see why they pay you more because it's a lot harder.
Oh yeah. I mean, just in the short time, because I think I bet on 4 games this weekend, and I'm playing with the over under and playing with the point spread and trying to figure all that out.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And it's I've never really paid attention to it. It's easy for me to figure out the over under. Obviously, if both teams score, 53 points combined, and you take the over, if they score more than that, you win. If they score less than that, you lose. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm starting with the shallow end of the betting pool, and uh, it's an adventure, man, because you can. It's like fantasy football. You can definitely outthink yourself,
Well,
if you're not careful.
exactly. So I'll give you an example of a bet that I think that it was different for me because I placed it early versus what happened late. So one of the games I bet on was San Francisco by 7.5.
Hmm. I bet that
I
game too, actually. Yeah.
Okay, but on the day of, it was San Francisco by 8.5. So when I made my bet, it was 7.5. The odds obviously had moved up, so then it became 8.5. The game was by 8 points. So
So you
my
lost.
bet, I won, but if you'd bet and got 8.5, you would have been so pissed off at the 49ers because they were up, what, 41-17?
Hmm.
And that team scored 16 points in the fourth quarter and killed, people's bets.
Hmm. Well, you see, on two different websites, I took the Cardinals and the points on one, and I took the over on the other one. And the over, I think, was 52 points yesterday or on Sunday.
38 plus.
And the
Oh, they didn't get to 52
No,
points.
either team just had to kick a field goal, and our kicker
Oh, okay.
missed a field goal that would have won me money,
Yeah.
and he straight up missed it, and I was so bummed. But it happened to me last week too, and I was messing around trying to practice with the ASU game against Southern Utah or whatever the hell the Utah team they were playing. That was the same thing. It was the over under was like 55 points, and I took the over thinking we'd blow them out, and we scored 54. So I'm thinking to myself, what's that Seinfeld episode where you figure out if you're even Steven or the guy who's you have to do the opposite of what you want to do initially
Yeah.
because
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm going to start doing the opposite of my gut reaction, and I should start winning everything.
Well, and okay, so here's another example that changed because obviously I love starting the football season, but then adding the sports betting added just a little bit more excitement. So one of the games I bet was Carolina by 4 over the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carolina was up 19-8, and then Jets scored a late touchdown. So now they're only up by 5. If they make the 2-point conversion, I lose the bet. If they get the 2-point or they don't get the 2-point version, I win the bet. And so I'm stressed out, like, oh, please don't get the 2-point conversion.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, don't do it, don't do it. And they did. So I won that one. But it was just like, oh my gosh, this adds so much more stress to the games.
Yeah, which is funny because you look at it and I found myself paying attention to games I wouldn't normally care about because like when I talked about overthinking it all, perfect example for me was on Saturday college football. I was working all day, so I didn't get a chance to really watch it. There are certain games I know I'm not going to bet on. Like I wasn't going to bet on Ohio State and Oregon because one that worked out a lot better than I thought it would have, but I would have naturally taken Ohio State at home with that, which I would have lost. And I looked through all the games, and I outthought myself. There's no way Alabama will blow it that team, that cupcake school, that bad this week. I'm sure it'll be a little bit closer because the line was like 40 points. And I got to the Notre Dame Toledo game, and it had like Notre Dame by 17. And I figured, yeah, I can. You know what? I like that. I think Notre Dame will walk away with it. It's at home. It's their home debut. It's national television. Toledo's a cupcake. It's a tune-up school. Let's do this. They won by I think a field goal.
What? Oh, I don't see. I don't. I'm not as good on college football, so I don't bet any of those games because I just don't know enough about.
Well,
Frankly,
I
I don't
think
think I know enough about the NFL either. But
well, what I learned was even Florida State lost to Jacksonville State on Saturday night on a last second play. So that's one of those FCS schools, not Division 1 beats a Division 1 school. A lot of people lose a lot of money on that, and people who bet the long shots because that Jacksonville State's their their alumni school win a lot of money just on things like that. But the question I have with this is, you and I have both lived near casinos the majority of our lives, correct?
yes, uh huh.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm sorry.
Vegas,
The majority of my adult life, yeah,
yeah, of your adult life for betting.
sure.
So, Vegas is down the road. Laughlin's not far. You have the Indian reservations right there with sports books. Um, why did it take having an app on your phone, making it legal for us to finally start dabbling with this? Is what I've been asking myself the last few days. Not that I'm addicted to it, because once my free money's gone, because all these apps gave us free money to try it out. I mean, if I don't ever open the app again, I'm not going to be upset. But
Okay.
what drives people? What's the driver to make people that are casual fans like we are do this more uh, with this app versus going to the actual casino and doing it there?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I want to venture into thinking. I think this had a lot to do with like FanDuel. We
Mm-hmm.
were one of the few states that did not allow for FanDuel to do like the fantasy sports betting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, we were one of the few states that didn't allow that to move forward. And I just think that when the whole United States is doing it, and you start to get the pressure of, well, every other state seems to be doing it. Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we cashing in? Um, you know, so I think that it's kind of, well, we have a population that wants to do it. They need to do it. doing it on an app is much easier than driving to Laughlin or driving to Vegas or driving to an Indian casino. It's easier just to do it on the app. So if it's going to happen anyways, why don't we just make some money off it and just let it go?
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that's kind of what they're doing. To me, it's a lot like recreational weed. It's this is another idea that it's something people have been doing around here for years. It's just never been technically legal.
Yeah.
And now it is. So it's, a lot of people that would not normally care to be seen doing it or heard with it are like, well, what's the big deal? It's legal, so I can do it. I'm going to try it out,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's we talked about in the pre-show notes that it kind of makes the day a little more interesting. It's like fantasy football where it makes you pay attention to games you wouldn't normally pay attention to.
Yeah.
But when it came to like me with the free money, I wasn't even on Sunday's games. I wasn't looking at the game like the Cleveland Kansas City game or the Bears and Rams. Like I could tell you who the winner was gonna be, but I didn't know if I trusted the line or the over under or I was more interested in the prop bets they had there. Like I bet on one like would Kyler Murray or DeAndre Hopkins score a touchdown that wasn't throwing. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Those prop bets kind of interest me more just because it's a more luck of the draw, but still kind of fun.
Well, keep this in mind. So, total, I did not spend $1 of my own money this weekend. Mm-hmm. Not $1. Kind of like you, I got the free money. They gave me so many free bets that I said, why not? Let's try it. I made 6 bets. Total amount spent would have been $220 if I had used my own money. $220. Now, I think about it. I won 1 ticket of the 6. It was a $10 bet that paid me $26. But in reality, I would have lost $220 to make that $26.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of it from a gambling perspective. Once again, on your question, why did it take so long? These casinos could have been making money hand over fist, and they didn't.
What gets me is like, all right, so I did win a few bets. So I have, I think, $70 in my FanDuel account that I can bet on other games for. But it's not money I can cash out. It's money that, they basically gave me. I lost, I won, I lost, I won. So to me, it's like when I was a kid, I'd go over to my grandparents' house, and my grandpa had the little poker machine next to his chair. He'd sit there and play at night, and you build up your bank, and the game's not over until you hit 0.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like that to me. It's like, all right, this is house money. It's money they're never going to cash out to me, so I'll keep making these bets to see what it does. And
why are they not going to let you cash it out? I don't understand.
Because even though it's free, it's like store credit.
Oh, so, okay. See, mine was my money because I put in an amount of money into the sports bet. Mm-hmm. So as a result of the money I put in, they gave me free money.
And that's what I did too. It's the I put in $10, so they matched like $10 or whatever else, and they gave me a bunch of free bets.
Okay.
But
okay.
I think it's over a certain dollar amount. Because I lost that $10 pretty quick, and you had to click the link saying this you're using one of your free $25 bets on this. So when you click that, that's how they know that they can't cash that out for you.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. Now, I did learn a lot though. One, do not rely on one team on every single ticket. That's really not a smart thing to do unless you're like for sure going to do it. Like I had money on the Green Bay Packers, and you talk about giving me the biggest shaft in the history of shafts.
Yeah, that was a bad game.
Yeah, four of my tickets were killed, and 2 of the tickets, the only game I needed left was the Green Bay Packer game. I had 3 of the 4 picks. And if I had gotten the Green Bay Packer game, I would have won $700. But because the Green Bay Packers decided that they didn't want to show up, like you said, I would never even look at the Green Bay Packers. Had no interest in care in the Green Bay Packers. But I made a bet on them, and so I watched and learned a lot about betting and sports betting. So,
and I've got a guy that I play fantasy football with, who owns a local jewelry store, and we've become pretty good friends, and Yeah, he was laughing because he called me on Thursday, and we were just talking about our fantasy football league, and he goes, "Well, I got Amari Cooper going tonight," and I told him like, "Don't, I wouldn't play him just based on the fact that he's coming off an injury. Tampa's got a good defense. First game of the season under the lights. Like, I just don't think he's ready, and I think they really want to showcase CeeDee Lamb." He goes, "Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing." And at halftime that night, he had like 10 catches, 2 touchdowns, 100 some odd yards. And I had to text my buddies like, "I'm sorry, man. Don't ever listen to me again. I suck. I'm sorry." He goes, "No, I had the same thought process you did." And we were talking at the golf course on Saturday, and he's really into sports book betting. And I was kind of telling him what's going on, and he goes, "Oh yeah." And I walked him through my bets because he didn't check the TV, he didn't check the scores all day because of his bets. And he kind of looked at me and was like, "Well, it's good that it's free money because otherwise you're just throwing money away with what you're doing." So,
okay.
Yeah, like, okay, well, I guess I'll come to him next time if I really want to like figure out how to make a bet. But
yeah, I have a friend. I have a friend who every year does this. Like he starts with a set amount of money, and I think his is $1,000, and he just makes bets all. He has a system, and makes bets all year long. And then at the end of the year, whatever's left, he puts the original 1,000. If he still has 1,000, he puts the original 1,000 back in the kitty for next year and takes the whatever he has at the end. Yeah, and so one year, he was someone I worked with, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this for everyone if they want to. Give me $20, and I'll do it. I'll add your money to our kit, or to our pot, and then we'll do it together." And at the end of the year, he gave me $100 off of his bets. So I started with 20. He gave me 100 at the end.
That's not bad.
So some people know how to do it. Some people, but this is the kind of guy that he like looks at. Alabama in the first half is always up by at least 35 points. 22 out of 24 times. He comes up with all these stats and
he gets the analytics.
Denver's 14-1 when they're playing under 40 degrees on the road in an outside stadium, or whatever he has that. I don't know where he gets his information. Maybe he does it over years and years, or I don't know how he does it. So, I could see that you could turn this into an art. I guess it's a fine line between when is it gambling and when is it actually a strategy.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to the Colin Cowherd's podcast, not the Herd, but his actual like podcast. And it's interesting because for as much as that man could drive me crazy in some areas, I appreciate some of his other viewpoints. And he was talking about gambling and the legalized gambling in these new states. And the only word of advice he came up with is like, the reason Vegas is the center of gambling is because Vegas understands. They know. And if you're not watching the odds makers in Vegas, you don't know what you're doing. You should be looking at that all the time to make sure, because there's, for whatever, they know something we don't. And it's the stuff like, Denver's, 14-1 on the road and 40 degrees or less over the last 5 to 10 years. It's just, they get paid to make these odds. So pay attention to the people that know what they're doing.
Well, and I had two games where I picked the team to make the points, and I was one play away from that losing or winning because of the point spread. And so you're right. I mean, you have to know what those are. That's the one thing I will say. They've done surveys, not formal surveys, but just informal surveys about, now that sports betting is legal, will you do it? And I was surprised that 66% of the people surveyed said they'll never place a bet.
Yeah, and I guess some people, if you've gotten this far without doing it, what's to get you to start doing it? The other spot is like there's a lot of people like you and I was like, well, it's free money. Why not? I'll try it.
Well, now I guess here's the question though, Scott. So all you have in it is $10. The rest of the money is money that you can't take out, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to continue on the strategy that you've been doing?
I mean, to me, it's kind of like your buddy that did the $1,000. Like, it's there, and it's something for me to look at and kind of when I got a few minutes to kind of figure out. But I wasn't raised to be a gambler. My parents, worked hard for the money, and they put that mindset into my brother and I that I work too hard for it. I'm not gonna gamble it away because I could lose it all in, a spin of the wheel or roll of the dice. So,
okay.
I'd rather save it and go do something I need to do with it.
Sure, sure, I'm with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I put in a set amount, and I'm going to play that as long as I can, and then if it runs out, I'm done as well. Because I don't have a strategy. I don't have like a insight to make it more of a strategy. One thing I will say though is I think the people who do it for a living or make these odds, they have the ability to take the emotions out of the
Yeah.
numbers that they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they place the bet, if they lose the bet and because of a last second field goal, um,
It's
the ones that
business.
aren't addicted, they just say, okay, that was part of it and move on to the next week. Versus me, I'm like all stressed out. Don't score, don't
Yeah.
score. You know.
And one thing I have learned is I don't think I'm going to bet on the Cardinals anymore. I have enough stress watching them as it is, and I don't want to get too high or get too low. So I think I will stick to teams that I'll pay attention to the Saints. I'll pay attention to the Raiders, maybe the Chargers, and just kind of teams I don't mind watching in the afternoon when my game's done, and just seeing what their trends are and see if I can make some funny money off of that.
Yeah, I bet on the Rams and four of the tickets, and the Rams covered the spread. I felt good. I didn't mind betting on the Rams. I think what I have learned is, while it'd be awesome to get $5,000, trying to pick seven teams
Yeah,
is
it's
really
hard.
difficult. Yeah,
It's hard.
I I think that the most I'll ever bet is three teams. Two or three teams is probably the most I'll bet. And I'm kind of like you. I've already taken. Okay, here's the amount of money I put in. If I divide it over 17 weeks, that means that I can bet this amount of money each week. And if I lose it, then I lose it. If I win it, then I just go up to the kitty and keep the rest.
Yeah,
Because ultimately, I'm like you. I don't want to waste my money trying to do it. Now, that being said, I could see how the states might have been scared about people, getting addicted and that's all they do, especially like on FanDuel, because not only do you have football right now, but you do have tennis, you do have golf, you
baseball.
do have baseball, in a couple months, you're going to have basketball and hockey. And so since it's every day, you could place a bet every day. It's probably a very fine line between doing it recreationally and becoming addicted.
Yeah, but yeah, and I guess that's part of the balance. That's why you see every disclaimer on every website, saying if you're addicted, call these numbers. So they're very good about giving the information if you feel like you have a problem. But I don't think anybody that's going through that ever realizes that they have a problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember working with a guy who his wife had a gambling problem, a really bad gambling problem, to the point where when they finally went, and she kept it secret, like taking out credit cards he doesn't know about, and using the money, and it finally got to like $120,000, and he was devastated, not only because of the financial exposure, which
Yeah, yeah,
obviously was bad enough, but just the deceitfulness of his wife, that he was married for 35 years at that point, and like high school sweetheart kind of thing, and just to be like totally sideswiped, knowing now that you've lost everything, you're financially destroyed, and the person that destroyed you is the person that you're supposed to trust the most.
yeah. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, I mean, and I it's so funny, Scott. When I was younger and stupid, when I didn't have money, that's when I wanted to gamble.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I wanted to become a professional poker player is what I want. I wanted to earn my money making poker. Uh, it only took a few months to realize I'm not good enough to play poker professionally. Uh, Now that I have a job,
hey, you
I
work too
go
hard for
into
your money.
anytime I go into the casino, it's because I don't mind losing $100 tonight. I just want to have a little bit of excitement, have a cocktail, maybe go get some dinner and gamble. and I just know that I'm going to lose the money. If I make money, great, but most of the time I walk away with less than what I started with, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But you know, the idea of gambling, I can see why, maybe the state is like, ooh, do we really want to get that involved with it?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a personal choice for everybody. And I don't see the appeal, like, to me. But I'm sure a lot of people look at fantasy football and say the same thing. And I know there's those are not our dogs, Tom. Oh man, my boys might go crazy because your girls are going crazy.
Yeah, someone's at our front door, I think. But anyways,
Oh,
that being said, no, no, I think that I'm gonna enjoy it from a purely casual thing, but I don't have any expectations that I'm going to do well with it. I
yeah.
have a feeling that at the end of the year, the $50 I put in will be gone, and that's okay. I'm just whatever. That's fine.
But if you had fun rooting for the teams that you bet on, and you learn something about those teams, you never know when that knowledge might come in handy later on.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
There's some weird Jeopardy facts always out there that you can use it for. I mean, there's always options.
Yeah.
It's
I'll be interested to see how you do on the over unders and stuff, because I don't do those very well. Like I just stick with straight winner by a point spread. I
well,
don't do any of the prop bets, like are you going to run for a touchdown or versus throw, or are you going to do, I don't do any of those.
well, like I said, I learned pretty quick because I would have taken the first week for practice. I took ASU in the over, and they hit right at whatever the over under was for points.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't
So
look to
you
see
won
what it
that
was.
one.
No, I lost because they had to go over.
Over. Oh, got it. Over. I see. Yeah. Right.
So, and then this week I didn't look to see what the bet was because I forgot to look by the time I got home from work, and I figured, yeah, I'll take the over because it's another cupcake game, and I think I would have lost that one too. So like I said, I need to start looking at doing the opposite of things to when it comes to betting, to see if maybe that pays off for me.
I will be interested to see what kind of financial impact this sports betting has on the state.
Yeah.
I have to think that part of the big push was that they just wanted to increase revenue.
Oh, I think so.
And
It's
I, and
always
I
about
get
the
a
bottom line.
feeling that as simple as it is on the app, that the 33% of people who do sports bet, that number will either go up,
Mm-hmm.
or the amount that those 33% are bidding will go up.
Well, you have to figure that most of our arenas and major sports teams all have sports book betting in their arenas now. So for casual fans, like, oh, I'm going to the Cardinals game this week, they'll see the sports book, place a bet for fun because they're there, and it's kind of wild and crazy. And if they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. No big deal.
So on a quick note, then, okay, a quick side note. Now that sports betting is legal and they're betting in the stadiums, does Pete Rose get to go to the Hall of Fame yet?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but it's more of a fleeting thought that just came to me. It's kind of like the people that are now appealing to get thrown out or taken out of jail because marijuana is legal now.
Yeah.
And it's not a crime anymore to smoke marijuana. That now a lot of people are petitioning the courts to let them out because they were arrested on marijuana charges.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's probably another topic for another day. But I would say we're not there yet. We're not there yet. He seems to be making enough money selling autographs outside the sports memorabilia stores at the MGM Grand on weekends. So I'd say we're probably okay.
Oh, okay.
But if you've tried online sports betting or want to try it or have thought about it but not quite sure, give us your thoughts. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. If you want to see what some of the picks our EP Tom would make in Colorado, hit him up on Instagram and Twitter at liquid_EP.
Interesting topic. It was a fun weekend. I love football. I'm glad football's back on. I love fantasy football. My team's not great this year, but I love fantasy football nonetheless. So game on, people.
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate you. Bet responsibly. If you are going to be doing sports betting, bet responsibly. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.